Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. And today we have with us Chala Dincoy, who's the CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert. Chala, welcome to the program.
I love what you're doing, and I love being here, Mike.
Well, thank you. And I really say this so often at the beginning of an interview, but when you can look at someone's name of their business, you know that they either named their business or, like in your case, your expert title, the repositioning expert. You know you did that for a reason. And so I'm excited to hear about, what led you to notice that there's a need for businesses to be repositioned and what makes you the expert in doing that. So I want to dive in deep there, but give us a little bit of background on your business journey and what led you to start focusing on helping people reposition themselves.
Well, in fact, the name came out of the career that spawned it, which is I spent 18 years saying no to suppliers. So I don't know, were you ever in corporate?
Yes. I was in mortgage banking.
Oh, good Lord, you poor thing. Well, yes. So there's a whole industry that's in pain. But needless to say, when I worked for these really sexy brands like Pepsi, Pizza Hut, Frito Lay, 18 years, I mean, I was always in brand and marketing. And at some point I was in sales when I first started. But I spent the majority of that time saying no to people who wanted to sell to me. And I learned that they all think they're differentiated, Mike.
Yeah.
Which is sad, right? And this is so still true. It's not just for the sales reps, but for when I do pre-interviews for the education or, a talk that I'm going to do with high-level CEOs, like multi-million-dollar CEOs of B2B service-based companies, you know what they say is their differentiator?
Let me guess, because when you said this, I was thinking so many times when I work with clients, I'll ask them, what's your competitive advantage? And they will go, oh, well, it is. And I'm like, no. You're, figuratively, I just met with 3 of your competitors and they said the same thing. So let me take a wild stab. They will tell you, we've got 30 years experience. We've got the best reps in the industry.
Yes.
We give great customer service. No, that's not a competitive advantage.
Oh, my God. I know. It is so true. So
I think we could probably talk for about 4.5 more hours. So I'm excited.
So, I mean, honest to God, you were so bang on. And it's sad because even though you and I know this, they don't know this. And 86% of corporate buyers think that all vendors are the same. They literally can't tell the difference between what one does and the other does. Yeah. And 90% of vendors think they're differentiated. So the pain of having so many people trying to sell to me and it be so like a hot mess, I decided that that's what I'm going to be doing. But first I took the journey of becoming a coach. So I went and certified, I was still working. And I thought, I've got this paper now. People are going to hire me. And, of course, that's not what happened, Mike. Do you know what the median income for certified ICF certified coaches are? Any idea?
Is it more than minimum wage now, or has it reached there yet?
It's like $20,000 a year.
Yeah.
So that and there was enormous competition. Now there's even more. That was 15 years ago. So when I got that paper and I left my corporate job with with 6 figures, and I was like, oh my God, I'm starving now. And I literally was until I figured out this whole, they don't know how to position and differentiate themselves. So I started with the coaches. Now, the issue was you should never serve someone who makes less than what you want to make. Yeah. So that's what happened. And then I, repositioned myself into having a super niche. So I call having a super niche as being a very, really, really specific vertical or industry or interest group and a specific pain point. So now I position myself as an elevator pitch coach for diverse businesses who are in these orgies of matchmaking. So there are enormous conferences and everyday events where, for diverse businesses, and I started with women-owned because I am.
Okay,
and
right. So that's helping now to identify kind of a vertical or a sub-niche, and you can help more than women, but it really helps when people go, ooh, that might be me, let's talk.
Exactly. So that and so what ended up happening is when you go to these, I don't know, have you ever been to a diversity conference?
No.
Like a procurement conference. So they're called procurement conferences. They match you up with corporations if you're a small business. And
so is that similar to like, have you ever heard of PTAC?
I think so. Is it like, is that for the government?
So they help, they work with SBDC and they help entrepreneurs get in with all the databases to get, like the women-owned, federal contracts and things like that. So I'm assuming, so like if you go to one of these events, maybe if you're, wanting to get connected up, you'd pay a fee and you would be, kind of like speed dating, but you would get, connected up to be able to make your little, maybe like a little mini Shark Tank pitch of sorts.
Exactly. And cool. In fact, they now have those pitch contests.
Oh, wow.
And I've trained them. I've, hosted, I've judged. I have like corporations paying me to be there when they're being pitched so that I can give feedback to the suppliers. So,
so you're kind of like their Cyrano de Bergerac, kind of like listening to okay, that's good. better looking, right.
But yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly, right. But you're whispering in their ear going, no, not next.
Yeah, no, well, I'm whispering into because they know what they need. The corporates need what they need, but I'm whispering into the vendor's ear about what they did wrong and
about how they can improve. Yeah, you're exactly.
Yeah, exactly, for the next time. Or I try to train them before they go in. And, it's not a secret. Like, I know because I was pitched to death, but stop talking about yourself, really. And
I was waiting for a moment because as this conversation is going, I was wanting to give my, how when you hear a certain thing, you always attribute it to the person you heard it from, but it's not necessarily their thing. Well, 2 decades ago, I heard this in a seminar I attended where Brian Tracy was doing a talk. So I know that it might not be his thing, but I always remember him for this. But he did this a little spiel, and he's like, hey, I want to get a raise of hands. What's everyone's favorite radio station? And people are like, oh, and whatever they were saying. And he's like, nope. And I know that you know this, but it's WIIFM, and people are like, what in the world is that? He's like, what's in it for me? And I've used that so many times, and even at a presentation I did with a radio exec in the room, and I said, and it's not your radio station, sir, because it is what's in it for me. And I think that if we or people you're working with can always remember that we need to be quote unquote advertising or broadcasting on that frequency, it's not about my and it, we, and there needs to be a flavor of that, but it's what is in it for them. You're going to receive a return on investment of X, and you're going to love the fact that your business is going to flourish because whatever. So talk a little bit about how that shift mentally, and it's so hard because it's like I spent so much time doing my startup and now I'm getting ready to talk about it. So of course I'm going to tell you everything about everything.
Yeah, exactly. So that is the number one thing that I do with my clients is that whole mind shift of thinking about you to thinking about the prospect. And specifically, 70% of humans purchase on pain. And it doesn't matter whether it's personal or business. It's still, if there's no pain, no sale. That's my saying.
Yeah.
So once and when you're super niched, you figure out such a specific pain for such a specific group of people that there is no competition. And so I'll give you an example. An IT support company, IT support is just as bad as mortgage brokers, right? There's too many of them.
They've got a couple competitors,
just a couple, and then we super niche this client into a sub-brand called On Hold Rescue for healthcare call centers where they reduce wait times. And recently that client came on to my boot camp. I do live boot camps for B2B CEOs called the B2B Elevator Pitch boot camps, where we fix their elevator pitches. So she said that this super niche within 2 months brought her $1 million. And
Wow.
they were already a $4 million company, but they had lost half their revenue in the previous year because they lost a big client. So this super niche in 2 months, because it's a existing pain. People in the healthcare call centers are already bleeding, looking for help, and there she was, and all we had to do was figure that out through market research. You could never figure that out sitting behind your desk or Googling. You have to go out there, and that's what I learned when I worked for the big brands. So then I formulated that into a small business format where you can find out your super niche within 2 weeks. So that's what they did. I'll give you another example. I'm sure you've met some marketing strategy companies, like they're a dime a dozen, right? So
Sure.
many. And so one of my clients was a generic marketing strategy company, and we super niched them into helping food manufacturers get listed and stay listed in grocery stores, because that is a huge existing expensive pain. So that's this one you'll like, the wealth advisor who super niched into divorcing women, helping them to maintain their lifestyle after the divorce. And I find that the same thing, like the wealth advisors, mortgage brokers, insurance brokers, they blend in. Like there's no differentiation. There's nothing to help them. So those are the two things. Forget about yourself. Talk about their pain. And then I love the title of what you were saying about brevity of your topic. One of my blogs is called "The Longer It Takes to Describe You, the Less You Get Paid." So,
yeah, I mean, what you're mentioning is my upcoming Forbes article, and the title is "Brevity is the Linchpin of Clarity," and it really, 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 really is, and it's so hard because I feel when you talk about something just to go bleh, because I know it all. But have you ever read the book? I'm sure you have. "Building a Story Brand" by Donald Miller.
No, I haven't.
Okay, you need to read it. It's excellent. Go to Amazon and pick it up. But he talks about how to speak about your brand through a story format, not once upon a time, but, being the guide and not the hero, because the hero is the entrepreneur. But all through the book, he talks about this concept where he says, if you confuse, you lose. And haven't you ever seen this before? And I heard this little statement, and I started using it, and people would just stop in their tracks. So I think it's attributed to Albert Einstein, but it goes like, if you can't explain what you do to a 6-year-old, you don't even know what you do. And so when I would ask, like some of these IT techie, whatever, I'd be in a consultation with a business owner, and I would go, okay, tell me, what's your competitive advantage? Tell me like your elevator pitch. And they would launch into this, what's called technobabble, this blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hold up. You lost me at we do that. I'm like, it is way too. So I said that. I said, okay, do you have like a niece nephew that's like 8 and 10 years old? Oh, yeah. I said, well, if they came up to you right here and said, what do you do? What would you say? And they're like, oh, well, I'd say that I help companies. And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. So how do you help someone realize what you say is wonderful once they're all in, rolled up the sleeves going, let's get to work. But for starters, for a pitch, kind of a, elevator pitch kind of a feel, how do you get people to really chunk down what they say into something really, really clear and concise?
Well, I have a podcast that does that in 5 minutes. It's called Polish My Pitch. And the guests usually, they show up, they do their 30-second, and then we fix it in 5 minutes. And I used to do it from the stage, so that's why I built the podcast. But the essential part is I ask them, and we can do it together if you want. Do you want me to do it?
On like a hypothetical business?
No, on you.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I put you right on the spot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I love application, so sure, go ahead.
All right. I mean, I do it with hosts, but this time I just forgot to ask you if you wanted to do it. So good for you for being. All right. So.
Well, at least you didn't say, let's go on video and my hair's not combed. So this is easy. So ask away.
All right. So if I were a prospect of yours, how would you introduce yourself and what you do?
Okay, so I would say my mission is to position you as the number one authority in your niche or industry so that you can become an instant celebrity and attract more clients, increase your profits, and make more impact. And I do this by delivering a done-for-you authority positioning portfolio of permanent assets on platforms of publicity, podcasting, and publishing. And this creates omnipresence so that you're seen as an expert and authority so that makes you the obvious choice to your target audience.
Okay. All right. So do I have your permission to polish your pitch?
Sure.
That's my classic question. Okay. So first of all, what is the most expensive problem that you solve? Is it
the most what problem?
Expensive problem that you solve.
I would say getting clients and being noticed in a sea of sameness out there. So prospects are talking about their business and people don't understand what they do and they view them as just some other Facebook marketer or whatever. And so the problem that's solved is having people see you as that obvious choice because they see you as an influencer.
Okay. So give me an industry or an interest group that you'd like to grow your business in, or that you have a lot of business in and would like to continue growing that.
Well, I mean, I've always, heard get rich in the niche, and I don't want to be the authority marketing strategist for doctors, lawyers, dentists. It doesn't really matter that way because my, niche is not being a marketing consultant. It's being an authority positioning strategist. So I guess I just call my target market business coaches and entrepreneurs.
Okay. So let's say business coaches, right? Okay. So what I typically do is how I would polish your pitch is to talk a little bit more about the pain than the pain and the what rather than the how. And so if it's and then I would talk about business coaches. Did you know that? And I would put some sort of statistic around it, and you can go find that out. You can Google it, or you could actually do your own survey and talk to 10 people and see how many of them actually have this problem. But you could say something like, did you know, like whatever the problem is losing clients. So, 80% of business coaches are, below $80,000 a year, or they can never get above, they can never grow their client base, or whatever the problem is around losing clients. You have to word it with or around differentiation. So I used to say 86% of buyers can never see a difference between two suppliers. But
in my one-liner content, yeah. I say most entrepreneurs struggle with not being seen as the obvious choice in their market, and it keeps you stuck on a revenue roller coaster searching for marketing solutions that just don't work.
Okay. So I like the revenue roller coaster. I would put a scope, like to scope it, to size it. Did you know that 3 out of 4, or whatever it is, 90% or 80% of business coaches do not make a consistent income, or never get to 6 figures, or never get to 7 figures. Whatever the problem is around that revenue roller coaster, yeah. Then I would say, well, what I do is I differentiate them by positioning them as an authority, by giving them a done-for-you portfolio and permanent assets.
So clarify that. So not just speak to the pain, but clarify the pain, quantify the pain.
Yeah, and even think about the pain as a diamond and pick one aspect, one facet of that diamond, and then become an extreme super niche in that. And we would have to do research to find out what that is and how they talk about it, what the common words are that they use around it. And we would narrow that. Research would also narrow down what kind of business coaches. So it may be a specific kind of business coach. It could be a specific kind of consultant. It would narrow it down for us so that we are constantly in their world, constantly talking about their pain, and their language could be different around the pain. Because not having enough clients is a problem for anyone from the local restaurant to, Shell You know, I'm just making it up. So that's why their language changes around the pain, and we would narrow that down. So does that make any sense?
Yeah, 100%, because we're tying right back into what we were talking about previously with clarifying a message and making it really clear. So, you know, you could feel like, oh, I've got the element of pain in my pitch because I say this, but what does that really mean? And I think that a lot of times people in sales go, oh, I know that they are looking for X, but in reality, if you really were to dig in deeper, they're like, no, I need this. And when you can give an example or a case study or a number, like you're mentioning, you know, clarifying and quantifying that pain and going just at 1 or 2 extra levels in there really makes it hit home.
Yeah, because then they're like, oh, my God, that's me. They're talking about me. And you should always be networking and doing your pitch in front of your actual target. So that's why a super niche elevator pitch is the only way to differentiate.
Yeah, I mean, I love that, and I think that. So, do you find this in working with your clients too? Once you've got that polished up, do you find that helps the entrepreneur or the person you're working with carry that concept through in their other marketing, because they might have that tight elevator pitch, but then now in their presentation for whatever else, or their blog posts or their emails, it's a lot of all over the place, up, down, and everywhere else. So I think that should help that mentality to help them tighten up any marketing communication they do.
Oh, it's everything. It all starts with the super niche. What problem you solve, the most expensive problem for which specific group of people. And then then the elevator pitch is just the tip of the iceberg. Then we take that into their entire messaging, communication strategy, and business strategy. And that's the whole reason why, you know, it's a big program instead of just me fixing, just like what I did for 2 minutes. It's an entire strategy.
Because it takes then a template that you overlay over everything that you're putting out.
Yeah, and the same would be true for you, is when you figure out what authority positioning that the client needs to have, then you will carry that out in their permanent assets.
100%. And I think that, you know, whatever the psychological I don't know, theory or whatever. I always remember this. I don't know what it's called, but I always remember it's you don't know what you don't know, right? So I think that a lot of people, whatever that's called, it's the theory of whatever, but it really does make sense. You just don't know what you don't know. And when you're working with an entrepreneur and this comes, you know, they might have gone, yeah, I've heard people say that before, but then when you flip on the light switch for them and you help them with that one little, you know, pitch or elevator pitch or, you know, unique selling proposition, tagline kind of a thing, then it becomes easy for them to go, okay, well, now let's apply that same methodology to my whatever, my marketing email, my whatever the case is. And I would think that it kind of opens up Pandora's box for them.
Yeah, I mean, messaging is everything. If you're not getting clients, it's because of your messaging. It's because you're not connecting to the right people and you're not saying the right things. I mean, so most people, to your point, don't even really know what a super niche is. They've never even heard the term. In fact, I think I made it up. But they've never even thought about the concept that taking what they already do and super focusing it into one area can make them more money without changing anything.
Yeah. Mainly because you seem like you're the jack of all trades but master of none. But if you really drill down into a really specific super niche, as you call it, then people's ears perk up and they're like, ooh, that is me.
Yeah, because you're speaking to one specific expensive problem instead of saying, we can do it all. So what happens with most of my clients is they get in through the door, the hook is the super niche, whether in their elevator pitch or market, like website or whatever other kind of marketing. It's that hook, and then they get in and cross-sell everything else.
Well, Chala, this has been really, really super fun. And if people that are listening would like to come and learn more about your podcast, Polish My Pitch, or learn more about what you do, what is the best way that they can reach out and connect with you?
So I always have these B2B elevator pitch boot camps all throughout the year. There's one coming up on September the 21st. And this is 2020, by the way. If you're listening to this 5 years from now, I hope you are. And I hope I'm retired by then. But in any case, the place to go is repositioner.com, which is my website, /bootcamp.
Excellent. Well, I will make sure to have that URL in the show notes, and I encourage anyone to reach out and connect with you. Chala, thank you so much for coming on. And if you like this episode or this podcast, I would appreciate you giving us a rating on iTunes, and just visit ratethispodcast.com/influential. Chala, thanks a million for your time. It was so good getting to know you.
Thank you, Mike. This was fun.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.